My name is Tracy Cook and this is the podcast series Victim to Victory. This series gives a voice to those who have overcome challenges in all forms that dare greatly to share their real stories and that have seen hope and risen above all of those adversities to become victorious, to go on to support and inspire and to motivate others to do the same. And today I am very pleased to give a warm welcome and giving a voice to Farita.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. We're having a chat before the show and I think that your story, if you can share with us where it all kind of eventuated and began.
So basically in June of 2001, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which is a form of inflammatory bowel disease. So what that means is it's an autoimmune condition which can't be cured. And at the time, you know, I was devastated, and because I had resolving colitis, so I didn't think it was a big deal. And the doctor told me, no, you are going to be on medication for the rest of your life and you will have to undergo regular colonoscopies. And I kind of just went, yeah, whatever, it's not a big deal. But progressively, my symptoms, even with medication, became worse and worse. And a lot of the horrible side effects of ulcerative colitis are uncontrollable diarrhea, bleeding, pain, and that brings with it all its other side effects like anemia. You know, you have lethargy. You just kind of lose the will to kind of get up and start your day. It's
depression as
it's
well.
It's everything. It was just like my whole world kind of went from one place and just kind of came crashing down because my whole life just revolved around where's the nearest bathroom. Mm-hmm. You know, I couldn't eat. I couldn't go out. I couldn't go out with my friends and enjoy myself anymore. It was really, really, really difficult, and I went to a very, very low place. And
so it's affected your quality.
Absolutely, the quality. There was no quality of life. I was basically at home. My life revolved around. You know, I dreaded the thought, if I had to leave the house. Because like, where's the nearest bathroom? How long is it going to be? How long is the car drive going to be? Am I going to be able to be okay without getting to a bathroom in time? And literally you're in a state of panic. Yeah. All the time. It's quite terrifying. And, you know, we went to different doctors, we tried different medications, and I went on courses of steroids, which are again horrible because the steroids, I don't know if you know, but they come with their own horrible side effects.
They've got their own warning labels, don't they?
You know, and every time you take them, that's the other thing, every time you take them and your body uses them to heal, okay, you get better. But then you need stronger and stronger doses every time to keep it under control. And then your body can also become, you know, intolerant to them. Like just can't. So basically your body becomes tolerant to them, and they don't really have an effect anymore. And so I was like, something is really wrong here. So, you know, a lot of us fall into this trap of thinking if a doctor gives us a medication, okay, I'm going to be fine now.
Yes, I totally agree with that. We put so much faith because we're so vulnerable by the time we go and see a doctor or a specialist or somebody expertise in that field, and we put all of our trust in them, and sometimes we don't know what questions to ask. Yeah,
we don't. And you know, I mean, there is definitely a place for allopathic medicine, and definitely when you're in that crisis mode, you know, that does help. But I would be okay for a while, and I kept getting progressively sicker. And now in about 2015, keep in mind I was diagnosed in 2001 and I was hospitalized in 2008, where I was put on a very high dose of steroids.
It's a long time to be suffering in pain and having no quality of life.
You know, and then in 2015 it really hit me because I went for tests and they couldn't even get the scope into my bowel for the colonoscopy because it was so just destroyed, just wrecked. Yeah. And at that point, they said to me, you know what, I think we're going to have to remove your colon. I think you're ready to have a colon removed, which would mean like, you know, a colectomy bag. And I'm like, I'm like a young woman. Like, that was like, what?
It becomes so inconceivable to even fathom living a life like that after, especially you've been through what you think is the worst.
Yeah.
That's you
know, and that affects so many things, because it's like my future fertility and everything would be affected by that, apart from the fact that I would no longer have my colon.
Yeah.
So I was like, hang on, I've got to figure out what's going on here. The medicine isn't working. So it was really probably at that point where I really started to understand that this condition wasn't just about medicine and dealing with the symptoms. It was about complete spiritual, mental, and physical overhaul. How had I been living my life? What was I doing? What was I feeling? How did I get to this point?
How did I get to this point? Yeah, that's a good question.
And I realized that I'd gotten to that point because I was never listening to what I wanted, what was right for me. I was always listening to external voices, never following my true path, and always feeling not good enough, and always feeling judged by everyone, always putting myself into everyone else's hands. That was definitely one aspect of it. The other very significant aspect of it was also, I realized that, I learned a lot about how the gut works, the gut microbiome, and I started delving into that. And I was like, oh my God, these things that I'm eating, and I didn't think I had a particularly bad diet.
Yep.
But I learned, I had to change a lot of how I ate, and that made a lot of sense to me. At the beginning, people said, don't eat, basically said, don't eat anything, and I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Because we know food is medicine. We know that.
We know that now.
Now, yeah.
And this whole concept of the gut microbiome is fascinating, and now learning about it, I understand so much more. And I learned, But the other thing also was my mental attitude. I always felt like I was defeated. I always felt like the world had something against me. I always felt like, I was always carrying a chip on my shoulder.
Why me? Why, yeah.
And I think, and when I realized that it was time to deal with the spiritual side of things, the mental side of things, and the physical side of things, I was able to make a move. I read a really amazing book by, I don't know if you know this author, Anita Moorjani.
No.
She wrote a book called Dying to Be Me. And in that book, she had stage 4 cancer, days away from dying in hospital. And she had an out of body experience where she said she talked to her father on the other side, and he told her, stop living your life in fear. And that really resonated with me, because people think fear is like being stuck in an airplane crashing down. No, fear is like all these little everyday things that we feel like, oh, if I do that, oh, then this might happen and that might happen, and oh, what if? And I'm like,
inner critics. We've all got those little inner critics.
Absolutely. And I realized that was very much how I'd lived my life. And I'm like, this is why I'm so sick. I don't trust myself.
Yeah.
I don't believe in myself. And so no matter how many medications I took, I was never able to get into a stable state that I am with God's blessings now, because I wasn't looking at any of those things. None of them. So I think especially when I started reading other authors like Greg Braden and Joe Dispenza. He's another fascinating guy,
I've read a bit of his stuff actually.
And it's brilliant, and listening to the YouTube videos, and I really
makes sense.
Absolutely. Wayne Dyer and a lot of his philosophies, and just started absorbing. I started becoming a sponge for all these amazing people, and I'm like, this is I want to resonate with these people. I want to be in that headspace. So I kind of immersed myself into a lot of that. And even with my diet, I learned, I can't stress how much I've learned about the diet, and when I watch the ads on TV, I'm just horrified when I think about it. I'm like, how can people put that into their body?
Yes.
I mean, everyone deserves a treat. Everyone deserves a treat. But, it's like, seriously, guys.
I know, yeah. And you know what? I totally resonate with that comment, because up until a couple of years ago, I was fast food queen, 5 or 6 cans of Coke a day. Just absolutely horrific. And, from my cervical cancer in 2016, I resonate with your story, because my mindset had to shift, and I had to have a look at all of those areas as well. So what you're sharing, so many people are going to connect with, because it's so practical, and because it's so simple, people go, why didn't I think of that?
It's so true, right? It's so simple, and there are so many resources out there. Like, you know, YouTube has so much good information. There are so many amazing, like your show, like places that you can go and learn, and it's good, because until I started broaching into, you know, wanting to find the resources, it's kind of like you don't even sort of know it's there.
Yeah, or sometimes I think we know it's there, but we're in denial, and we're walking through life ignoring the signs that the universe is giving us to actually care for ourselves as well. It's not until a crisis point we go, oh, I'd better do something. And unfortunately, majority of people wait till a crisis to actually do something about something.
That's true. And I think for most people, maybe it's the same for you, but it definitely was for me. It's like your body, when you get sick, your body is trying to send you usually a message that is so much more than what you think it is. It is always something much deeper and much personal, and something on a heartfelt level that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And when you don't listen, that's when you get sick.
That's right. That's right. We ignore the signs, and we know it. And as women especially, we're very intuitive. And when we're busy and we're mums and nanas and we're working and whatever, we just put ourselves last. We just put ourselves on the back burner.
Absolutely.
And, you know, just taking that time to have me time and recognise the signs that are going on in our lives and actually take action, just little actions can totally change your life.
Totally. And so I you know, and even at the beginning of this year, I just said to myself, I did a whole kind of like a, what's the word I'm looking for? I kind of did a whole overview. I said, where am I right now? And, you know, and I said, again, I want to tweak things. This isn't working for me, that's not working for me. And I think you constantly have to be doing that if you want to be in your own equilibrium.
Yes.
You know, and you've got to be listening to your inner voice. And I think a lot of us don't, because I can speak for myself personally. I'm one of those people, like, if I've got a list of 10 jobs to do in a day, I want to do those 10 jobs to do in that day, regardless of how tired I am, how hungry I am. I just want it done. I drive myself crazy, but I'll do it. But then I was like, no, this is wrong. I shouldn't be doing this. I've got to be able to enjoy taking a break. I've got to not feel, I grew up with this mentality that if you're not working hard, you're not going to achieve anything in life. If you're not pushing yourself, you're not going to get anything. So I've got this thing where I have to always be doing something. And then I have no quality of life because I'm never enjoying any moments in life. And I think that was also one of the big realizations that I had. I just not enjoying my life. My life is just a series of tasks every day, and that's it. This is when I was obviously in a more healthy state, because before that I was just in bed and sick and in pain. But when I was more healthier, I realized that again, this isn't working. Then again, I'd feel myself dipping, and then I was like, I've got to bring myself back up. What am I doing wrong here?
Yep.
So I feel it's really important that anybody, whether you're dealing with a chronic illness, whether you're dealing with depression, whether you're dealing with stress, is like you really have to tackle the spiritual, emotional and physical aspect of your life, and kind of look at all those areas in order to really understand where you are at that point in time, and do it regularly.
Yes, yeah.
You know?
A regular check. I mean, we're told to check our breasts regularly for breast cancer, you know, for lumps. And a lot of us take time to do that, but sometimes we don't self-check ourselves.
Yeah.
And like you said, an overall checklist. How am I feeling?
Yeah.
What's my body saying to me?
Yeah.
Am I taking time out? And am I too stressed? And we're so inclined and conditioned by society to listen to our inner critics. We don't listen to our inner voice telling us when we should actually be taking care of ourselves.
Absolutely. And so, you know, this year I've been doing a lot more. I've been getting into yoga now, and I've been finding that fabulous, because I've always been one of these Taibo, really work out hard kind of people when when I've been in a healthier state. And I'm realizing, no, my body doesn't want that now. My body wants the yoga, because the connection of the breath with the movement, it's an amazing thing. And I always thought, yoga's just for people who don't want to do real workouts. And I'm like, what's this crap?
Or for people like me that can't actually get up off the floor, I can get down there, I can do the yoga, I just can't get up again.
Well, I'm just doing beginner's yoga. I'm not like standing on my head or anything crazy, but I'm like, it's just amazing. Like, I've really noticed the difference in my body, in my posture, even in like my actual tone, like on a physical level, but more importantly here in my mind. I'm much more level when I do it. And I just go on YouTube.
Yeah.
I look up a channel it's called Yoga TX. They're brilliant workouts. Like, you don't have to be an expert. I'm a complete beginner myself. I've only been doing it for like, maybe 6 months, whatever, but amazing. Like, I've noticed such a big change. So my main workouts now are just yoga and walking my dog.
Yep.
Before I used to be like this real Taibo, weights gotta do, and I'm like, no, my body needs this now.
Yes.
So you have to like I said,
So
check in.
we step into different seasons in our life as well. So I used to be gym junkie, believe it or not. I used to be size 8. I was fit as anything, and then I found cake somewhere along the line. But I was right up until I started getting sick, kind of 2012, 2013. I'd been, eating crap but healthy, if that makes any sense. Active, going to the gym, tons of energy. Now, with all of your things that you're implementing with your food, with your yoga, with your spiritual connection, with your change in mindset, do you feel like a weight's been lifted, or like you've got more clarity or brain fog? Like, talk us through that.
I think that when you look at all those aspects and you get that balance, you feel so much more freedom. You feel a sense of freedom because I don't feel bound by my condition. I'm able to manage my condition in a way where I can almost ignore that I have a condition. It's like that condition doesn't define me anymore. Before, everything revolved around my ulcerative colitis.
Yep.
Everything revolved around my inflammatory bowel disease. And that's how I lived my life. And it was a really miserable life. I lost a lot of friends because I just couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
It was a really lonely point in life, because a really lonely point, because even your own family who love you, they love you so much, but they just can't relate to certain things, and they get frustrated because they can't help you, and you're having a bad day and you can't do certain things, and they also can't, and there's just so many things that go on. And
probably the mood fluctuations as well that come with depression and chronic illness. I found that myself. Nobody could understand it except for me. So everyone was the enemy there for a while. And it wasn't as though they weren't trying to understand. It's because I kind of put up a wall as well. Did you find that you were kind of not doing that or not doing that?
I don't feel that I put up a wall in my case, but what I do feel is that it's such a fantastical situation if you're not experiencing it, that it's hard for anyone to really relate to it. It's hard for them to relate. Like, when you wake up every morning and your gut just like feels like you've got period pain 24/7. Or cramps 24/7, and that's kind of like how you wake up and go to sleep every day constantly, and you have to ignore it and just try and be strong and carry through your day. Because even when I was unwell, I was always strong in the sense that I told myself, I'm going to try and do X, Y, Z as much as I could, and then when I got the little bit better, I started getting back to work and started doing things. I never said, oh, I'm going to be sick and I'm going to do nothing and I'm just going to sit and watch TV and this is going to be my life. I said, no, I want to be, I've got so many goals in my life I want to accomplish, and I'm damn well going to do it.
Oh, I'm feeling the energy from you right here. I so am. And I loved that about your story. Like, when we connected and I read your story, I had a lump in my throat, and I thought I need to interview you because your story really spoke to me, and I thought it was so relatable, because there's so many people that are going through that or know somebody that is going through that as well. And I like that you just didn't accept that was your life and just lay down and wait for day dot. I like the fact that you kept fighting and you kept tweaking and kept researching and finding out more information and wanting to still not let anything define you, but for you to define you with your own emotions and purpose. And when you shared your story, that's what stood out to me straight away. I thought, I was reading, I'm like, oh no, that's horrible. And then I'm like, oh, go you. and how did you was there a defining point that actually you switched and thought, no, this is not going to define, this is going to make me become better? Was there a defining point?
Definitely. The defining point would have been when I told you about that test in 2015.
Yeah, that was it.
When
that
they
was
said, we have to remove your colon, and I saw the damage of my colon, and I was horrified.
Yeah.
Like my dad's like 30 and 40 years older to me, and he had a colonoscopy, and there's his colonoscopy, God bless him, looking amazing.
Yep.
And there's me, this young girl with a colon that looks like, I can't even describe it in words. It would just look like disgusting. And it was so inflamed, and it was just so damaged. And there was also a blockage they were worried about in the colon, because what happens with ulcerative colitis over years and years of repeated irritation is that its scar tissue keeps developing, and obviously your colon is not that wide. So the more it narrows, then there's the risk of it blocking, right? Which would be another whole complication in itself. So I was like, enough is enough. I'm really doing something wrong here. What is it I'm doing wrong? For a long time, I was thinking the world was doing me wrong. It's when I realized I was doing something wrong for myself that was, really when things changed.
Yeah.
And I think people have to face the fact that, sometimes when things happen to you, the world doesn't hate you. Like, no one's got an agenda against you. It's really your own agenda against yourself that's the real...
You're at war with yourself
Exactly.
sometimes.
You haven't accepted yourself.
Yeah.
You don't love yourself yet. And you don't realize it at the time.
No.
But it's you realize you don't love yourself. And I think that's really important. Once you get to that point, and like I don't prescribe to this whole thing that, loving yourself means being mean to others and, I'm going to be like this and it's okay because not in that kind of way. In a real, I need to nurture myself. I need to have love for myself and everything around me,
And I found that when we start loving and accepting who we are and what we are, and our whole perception of the world around us changes as well. We see things through a different lens.
Absolutely.
I really believe that we really need, more than anything, to really love ourselves.
Absolutely.
Like, really look in that mirror. And we're talking before about the Michael Jackson, the man in the mirror. And I just think that's so powerful, because when we truly look at ourselves under a microscope, we truly dig deep into ourselves and really point out our goodness and not our flaws.
Yeah.
As society tends us to, portray in the media and the movies and things like that. When we actually truly accept and love ourselves, we see everything differently.
It's true. It's true. And I think that it's important to say that, I was diagnosed with this condition in 2001, but I grew up never trusting my instinct from a very young age. And I kind of grew up in an environment where I was told no, always told what to think, how to think. And growing up in Australia, at that time, because of not being a white person, I also faced a lot of, prejudice for not being white and stuff, and like bullying and stuff. I experienced that myself growing up. And so there was always a lot of things. And then I was an overweight child, and I would get teased about that. I had, big pimples. And so I didn't have that love for myself,
Yeah.
It was hard for me to love myself at that point. And I just got to a point where eventually my body just gave up and went, you're not listening to me. Here's this disease for you. Now will you listen? Now will you listen?
Yeah.
Because for so long I just didn't. And I had the worst diet. I would eat like a packet of Tim Tams without thinking. I would just rubbish. Now I'd be horrified. Try to get one into me now. But
exactly. I'm exactly the same. I'm just like, there's nothing in my cupboards. We have a house full of teenagers come over and they're like, where's the food? I'm like, there's this and there's that. They're like, no, like food. And I'm like, no, that is food.
Yeah, exactly. And I still say you should have a treat. Like, never deny yourself, but that's a treat. The overall diet needs to be, you love it. You need to love your body, and that's also with the food that you put into it.
Yes. Because everything, it happens from the inside out.
Absolutely.
So where are you now? Where are you now?
So where am I now? You know, with God's grace, I feel like I'm in a good place right now. So it's like, you know, I'm feeling good. My husband and I are hoping to start a family shortly if that all works out. So, you know, because for a long time I wasn't able to even think about having a child, because when you're symptomatic, you can't even think about it. No, the doctor said you can't. You'll just miscarry, you know. So, you know, that also was put on the back burner for a long time. So it's like I feel now, you know, I'm in a good place mentally, physically, spiritually, and I'm looking forward to my future. There's so much I want to do with my business, with my music, with my food blog, with you know, and I'm a dog mom too, and like, you know, I spend a lot of quality time with him, and I'm in a good place, you know, with God's grace. So I'm happy for that, and I'm looking forward to, you know, meeting new people and connecting with new people, because I also feel that was part of my problem too, always staying in a very narrow group, and that group didn't really nurture me.
Yes.
That group wasn't really doing anything. So I think it's important that you're always putting yourself out there and having new experiences. And that's what Anita Murjani was talking about in her book. Like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to live life. You know, it's really important that you don't. And I think I am a classic example of a person who has always was living in fear. Yeah. And I have to check myself sometimes, because when you've grown up that way, that's kind of your default setting.
That's
and
right.
you kind of have to go, no, I'm not going to do that. Even on the way to this interview, I had that moment of panic. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Just do it. You're just going to talk. What's the big deal? You know?
And you've had what most people would think of every single excuse in the world to just reach that point after overcoming all of those adversities and lay in bed and go, well, this is my life. This is the card I've been dealt. Oh, well. And you've just hit it on the head all the time. You've just gone, no, I'm not going to accept that. No, I'm not going to accept that. No, I'm not going to accept that. And now here you are, absolutely beautiful and amazing and thriving, and thinking of starting a family. And like you said, you've got your music and your food blog and so many things that you're doing, because you're superwoman. And I just think that is a true victim to victory story, because it is so inspiring and it's so motivating. And I just think that from honesty and vulnerability and sharing that with the world like this on the series is just, in this world, is so much more important than ever for all of us, men and women, to connect and share their real stories. We're not Instagram bikini models, you know, who are taking perfect pictures, and we've got perfect houses, and we're not that. We're not that. Those days are gone, and I am truly grateful and thankful for people like you in the world that are willing to tell their truths. I truly, truly am, because we need to be more truthful. We need to be more real, and through connections and vulnerability, we can literally change and impact the world.
Absolutely, and I think that's really important. I think people need to know that they have support. It might not be the person it might not be someone you know, but at least you've got forums like this where you can, you know, be connected to other people. And it's really good what you're doing, so thank you for that.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I truly, truly appreciate you today. And thank you very much for being brave.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're so welcome.
No, that's absolutely beautiful. Oh, I'm actually tearing up. Now, you can find our podcast under Victim to Victory podcast series, and we'll be out on all of the podcast platforms very soon for you all. And I hope you all got a lot of value. I know you did. And we have got a beautiful, powerful story that we have just shared with you. Please say thank you, subscribe, like and comment. And I'd like to leave you all with a very special message to dare greatly, to inspire, and let your vulnerability be your strength, and let your voice roar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No fear, guys. No fear.